Hi, I'm Life Coach Landry, and the topic is 10 ways to tell if your online love interest is a scammer, a player, and just not worth your time. Okay, so these are 10 things to look for when you're conversing with somebody and on an online site, because it's a harsh fact that the person may seem too good to be true, which means they probably are, right? So number one, if they say flattering things to you, okay, they say flattering gets you everywhere, but in this case, it'll get you nowhere sometimes. If it's one thing to compliment someone on a picture, say, oh, you have a really nice voice or something like that, but it's another thing, oh, baby, and everything's like a showering kind of effect. Those guys are usually, or in women, and we'll get into with the women part too, those kind of people are typically the kind of people that are trying to get you somewhere. So they're trying to, lubricate the tunnel that they're creating to make you go down for them. Okay. Number two, their photos are too good to be true. Do they look like a model? Do they look like an actor? Are they dressed in a uniform? Is their profile picture just so polished and professional? It looks like, they paid $300 to have someone go through the whole thing. This is your second warning sign. But again, it's a clue. Okay. Not all these things are surefire signs. It's when they all kind of come together that it really does. Okay. Number three, they're very keen to take your conversation off the dating site. Okay. This is an absolute classic move. Paid online dating sites scour their members' basis for scammers, and the technology used has become pretty sophisticated that it could be a matter of seconds until a scammer is caught and thrown off the site. To counteract this, scammers say to you that they would rather communicate with you off the site. Now, this doesn't mean that they're just because right away they're like, hey, let's talk on the phone. Could mean they just really like you and they really want to talk to you on the phone. So don't be like, think that's a real like, oh my God, I'm being taken advantage of. But the excuses they give will sound relatively legitimate. But sometimes they're just trying to get you off the site and away from prying eyes. Always keep your conversations online until you fully trust the person. So I would say 2 to 3 messages or 1 to 2 messages online, good lengthy ones, maybe 2 or 3 paragraphs. And just talk a little bit. You'll usually know just instinctively whether something seems a little off about them. Okay. Number 4, they ask you lots of personal questions. Okay. Scammers tend to ask you lots of questions, pretending to be really interested in you. They might ask about your past relationships, your hopes and dreams, rather, what do you want to do when you retire? While this is fine and normal part of getting to know someone, make sure your answers aren't so personal that you're disclosing details. Some of these scammers are trying to get into, where you've lived the past 3 years. They want to know things like that. Okay. It's a pattern that you're looking for, not just one thing here. Number 5, they don't talk about themselves much. Okay, now, a lot of times I would say a date should be a little bit of a 50-50 mix, maybe 60-40. It could turn over a little bit. But this is because they're trying to get to know you, not necessarily because they're trying to scam you. But have you noticed that your love interest initially talked about themselves, but they haven't said much since? They just did enough to get you to talk to them, and now all they do is listen to you. That's because a scammer in the past, he probably made some stuff up and he doesn't want to cross stuff, or she doesn't want to cross stuff that she said to you that's now going to, indict her and make her totally obvious that, they've been lying. Okay. So, scams targets, the way they do it is they'll take a look at you and they'll say, cool, I need to say enough to get them. And then I want them to talk about everything while I take notes about them. Okay. Now, this isn't to make you scared. There are normal people that are inquisitive and they're going to want to know about you. Don't be afraid to talk about yourself, but just condition yourself to give information out that you could give to anybody and that's never going to be able to bring harm back to you. Okay. No Social Security, no driver's license, no what's your middle name, full name, and whatever. Nothing like that. Just keep it simple. My name's, yada, yada. I do this for a career. Don't even talk about the company. Just talk about what you do. Okay. And this is the first 3 dates. Once you get past 3 dates and you've met them in person, you can start being free flowing from there. Okay. Number 6, the answers to their questions just don't add up. Okay. If they tell you anything about themselves, they might slip up and say something that doesn't really add up. Okay. This is a warning sign. Go with your instincts and gently call them out on it. Be like, hey, didn't you say something different? It won't hurt to ask why a few days ago they said they were, they were a 10 when they moved to England, when today they mentioned they were, born in England, for instance. It's kind of like, I thought you moved there versus you were born, kind of thing. Number 7, they get very familiar with you. Are they calling you something affectionate like darling, sweetheart? Even though they have spoken to to the person a few times, are they talking about settling down or spending time with you right away? Like they're moving into, I'm really looking for someone to get married to like relatively soon, And remember, this is in combination together. A lot of people talk about these things individually, and that's totally okay. It's when, like, out of these 10, 5 or 6 of them are kind of coming together. Okay, number 8, they don't approach the subject of speaking on the phone. This is a huge indicator. When online dating, chatting through email, is all well, but online dating usually progresses from one level to the next pretty quickly from an email to a phone call, as it should. Okay, if your online date has no desire to speak on the phone, this is a huge red flag. It means they want to be able to craft conversation through text, emailing, and other forms like that, because they want to make sure they can review past emails and stuff before they say new stuff to you. You want to get somebody on the phone. Okay, in how to date and go through stages, I talk about when you're talking to someone, get on the phone relatively soon, 1 to 2 conversations on your online dating site max, and then get on the phone. Okay. Number 9, they don't approach the subject of meeting in person. Or when you do approach it, they do everything to avoid it. People who are messaging and phoning each other usually eventually want to meet. After all, the whole point of dating is to have a human connection. Not online, not texting, and I have a good segment on that. Go back and watch it about dating. Your phone and your texting and all these kind of things. A phone is for 1 to 2 conversations max before you meet in person. But your phone, texting, emailing is for dating appointments only. It's not to converse your entire life over. Okay, this person, if they're a scammer, is most likely situated in a different country or something. So they're working really hard with no desire to meet you in person, just to hook you enough to start their next level of tactics, whatever that might be. Okay. Number 10, they tell you a sob story. Okay, everybody's got that. I have an uncle in Africa, all that kind of stuff, right? But when you're starting to get intimate with somebody, sometimes you can overlook these things and you can come a little blind to it because you're interested or you're lonely and you really want to meet somebody. So you're kind of paying attention, right? A lot of guys, I can tell you, the men will do a sob story. Oh, I lost my job recently. I'm having a hard time. I'm struggling, but I really just want to meet a great woman. Okay, like scammers and stuff like that with men. Women scammers typically will talk about, I'm looking for love. I want somebody that I can love and take care of for and cook for. They'll make you feel like, God, this is a woman who's going to come in and really just nurture me. They want to give you that mama effect, is what we call it, where you'll feel like you'll be so taken care of that, man, guys would kill for a woman like this. If I pass her up, I'm crazy, right? So they tell you a sob story. Has something suddenly happened to your online date? A family emergency. Maybe it might be that their family member became ill and they're $500 short for a treatment that they need. And man, it would be so great if you could help them out. However much you believe them or have fallen for them, sending them any amount of money is not normal. It's not okay. Don't ever do it. Money should never even come up other than being on a date and maybe the check. That is the most conversation in the first 3 dates that money should ever be talked about. Okay? So a few more words of warning I want to give you before I close this out. Okay? Scammers usually prey on the seemingly vulnerable. Okay? Those who have been divorced, widowed, or let's say you're a single but a high-level executive, so they know you're lonely and you've done your work life your whole life and you really want to meet someone really eagerly now before it's too late to maybe have a baby biologically. You've got absolutely nothing to worry about if you keep these tips in mind and keep your wits and instincts intact when you're going through these things. It'll tell you a lot. And as I mentioned earlier, scammers are becoming very, very clever. And as they earn more and more money doing it, they can afford to spend longer on you rather than feeding you robotic stories right away. They can spend 2 or 3 months talking to you versus trying to get you real quick in the first month. So if they've had success doing this, they're not going to need to sound desperate right away. So it might come gradually out of them. But don't let this keep you from good people you're dating either. Like, I have to make sure I differentiate the two. Just because you see one of these go, oh, that person is a scammer. Okay. But for men in particular, more so than women, are more instinctual about these type of things. Men, because men have sex more casually, and women can come off and give a vibe that they'll provide these things quicker so that a man doesn't have to work as hard. Men are more vulnerable towards these things happening to them. Okay, so they're more just susceptible in general from a woman taking advantage of, believe it or not, than a woman. Now, a lot of people might say, wow, I find that interesting because women seem to be more of the sensitive sex, that they would be just more easily caught up and these kind of things happening to them, but actually it's not true. Women take advantage of sexual natures and being, especially, Latin women and women from like the Philippines are the biggest scamming areas known through research. They spend a lot of time at 2 or 3 o'clock in the morning looking for men's salaries, and they look for certain keywords in men, like they went through a recent breakup or they're a single father, because a man is looking for a woman to help raise a child because men's instincts aren't as well suited for maybe a young child. So a woman would be a great hand in his life. Women prey on these things that are out to make money and scam men. Remember, in other countries, these things happen all the time. In America, it's a recent kind of phenomenon that's kind of kicked in as it's gone on. And for men specifically, the thing to spot is lack of proper English in their writing, trying to get you offline as quick as possible, trying to get you on their Instagram, their Yahoo. And also, I want to come visit you. If you pay for a plane ticket for me to come in and help me get my visa, I'd love to come see you as soon as possible. Things like that, okay? If my advice to men, take your salary off your profile. I tested this. I made a fake account, and I've done a lot of research at Scene. I made purposely little tiny things in my stuff to attract scammers on purpose so I could see what was working and how much harder they would work on certain things. Take your salary off. And if you're in executive management, you might want to put just management, or you want to leave it off altogether because they know that's a big indicator of a salary boost. Okay. So I hope these things help you guys. And ladies out there, watch out for men who won't meet you in person or who are just looking to meet you casually somewhere for quick sex, and they're not looking to put in time into meeting you on a physical date. They actually want to meet someone that they know a quick hookup can come from. Okay. So there are scammers, not just financially, but sexually, both for men and women. Okay. So I hope these things helped you. And if you want to book a personal session with me about somebody you think that might be doing this to you and you need some help deciphering it, you can book a personal session with me via Skype, phone, email, or in person at the link below to contact me. Or if you just found this video of value and you want to show your appreciation, you can click on the donation link below, and I will talk to you soon.